This is the long-awaited Tesla Model Y Juniper. I'm going to show you around one of the most popular cars in the world. The Model Y is so popular because it's relatively affordable for an electric vehicle, especially since Tesla's trying to sell their older models. Every mile gets over 300 miles of range, and there's also enough space for 5 adults to sit comfortably and hold all of their luggage. The base model of the outgoing version started at around $45,000, which is actually a very reasonable price considering everything that you're getting. The Juniper version should be a little bit more expensive. Expect around $3,000 to $4,000 more because they have been changed a lot. And before we go over the exterior changes, it is worth noting that this is the launch edition model. It's a limited release, and it has a couple of included things like full self-driving, so it's going to be a little bit more expensive than the normal models coming later this year. In the front, this takes lots of inspiration from the Tesla Cybercab. So the front fenders and the front trunk cover have been completely redesigned so they have a flatter appearance. This helps with aerodynamics and range. This also has a large light bar that looks very similar to the Cybercabs as well. And this little piece right here is actually where the turn signals are hidden, and the main headlights are down here. There's no longer a Tesla logo on the hood now. It's much cleaner looking. There's also a hidden front-facing camera under here, which actually can be used for parking. It's very helpful in many situations. And there's also larger air openings in the front bumper, so air can pass through the wheel well and go down the side of the car. The side profile is mainly unchanged. There are a few new wheel options. These are the 19-inch aero rims, but you can also option 20-inch alloy wheels. And the mirror caps have this little crease on them, which does help a little bit with range and aerodynamics. And as for space, if you just hop in the back, just looking at it, there's actually a decent amount of space. There's good legroom, even if the person in front of you is very tall. You can see I have a lot of knee room and leg room. I can just put my feet directly under the seat. And the sloping roofline slopes behind the rear passengers' heads, so I actually have a decent amount of headroom, about this much. There have also been some changes to the rear end of the new Model Y. First off, the pillar for the trunk lid is now split. It used to be one large piece, but now this spoiler is a different panel, so it's easier to replace in the event of an accident. And speaking of the spoiler, it's actually larger. It helps more air pass over it. And there's also a new rear windshield. Instead of it curving all the way around, it now has these sharper edges. These taillights are very similar to the new Tesla Model 3 Highland. However, there's this hidden light bar under here, and the Tesla lettering has its own separate panel over here. This trunk lid also seems much larger now because the license plate holder has been moved down to this rear diffuser. Because the Model Y is electric, it has much fewer components, which means more space in the interior, especially in this trunk. It's fairly large already, one of the largest in its class, but there's actually more storage. You can see this sub-trunk is really, really big, so you can store deeper items, especially if you want them hidden from others' view. There's another storage compartment down here, and there's also these really deep side storage compartments, so you can fit a ton of things, especially if you're going on a road trip. The materials in the interior are much nicer. That's also translated to the trunk. Before, up here and on the trunk lid, it used to be all plastic, but now it's actually this soft fabric, and there's also some carpeting on the trunk lid. In addition to that, these seats are now power adjustable. You just push these buttons, and they go down really, really fast. The front seats actually move forward a little bit as well, so they avoid colliding with the rear seats, and they go back to their normal position once they're completely down. And you have even more space and a completely flat load floor. And since those rear seats are now power adjustable, Tesla has given rear passengers the function to adjust their own seats with these buttons over here. You can see they can either recline their seat a good amount, or they can fold it from here. And if they don't want to fold it, they can also unfold it in a matter of seconds, which makes it easier instead of you having to go into the trunk to put down your seat. And no engine means more storage space. The Tesla Model Y indeed has a front which is actually decently sized, but is about the same size as the outgoing model. However, now there's this drain, so you can put some ice and maybe some drinks and have a little camp out here and drain out the water when you're done. Pretty cool feature. If you're wondering where the rest of the launch edition badges are, you'll find the first one right here, this puddle light. The second one is on this door sill, it says Launch Series, and the final one is in this wireless charging dock, which says Launch Series again. Build quality has improved much more on the interior than on the exterior. The panels inside are held together much firmer, so they won't rattle around. All the windows on this car are double pane for a quieter ride, and the doors have better sound insulation. But other than that, the build quality hasn't changed too much. The Model 3 has door plugs under here to catch the impact when you close the door, which sounds much higher quality. But this car sounds around the same when you close the door from the outgoing model. The interior of the new Model Y has been completely redesigned and mimics a lot of the same features of the Model 3 Highland. The steering wheel is basically identical, and it also has a very similar dashboard and center console. However, there are some notable changes. The new Model Y, just like the new Model 3, has ambient lighting that goes across the entire dashboard and nice materials on the door panels and the dashboard. The Model Y has some changes, like I mentioned. The launch edition gets this faux Alcantara on the dashboard. All Model Ys get this door trim, which the Model 3 does not have. And you can see this really cool looking speaker grille cover. The most interesting feature, however, is this stalk right here. Every Tesla, except for this, has turn signals on the steering wheel, but more people buy the Model Y, and they do not like this feature. So Tesla listened to their customers and added this turn signal stalk. If you flip it down, it uses the side cameras to turn on this blind spot camera, which helps when you're driving along. However, in the new Model Y, you have to use the screen to put it into gear, which will be very annoying for many people. However, you have some handy buttons right in front of you on your steering wheel, like your high beam flashing or your voice control. But my favorite is the camera button. So if you're in traffic and you might want to make sure that no one's too close to you, you can just press this and pop up your front camera, side cameras, and your rear camera. And since the Model Y does not have a transmission, that frees up a lot of space in the center console. If I just open this up, look how big the storage compartment is. It's really deep and really wide. And there's also even more storage under this center console armrest. It goes really deep, as you can see. Many families like this so they can fit whatever they want, especially if they're going on a road trip. So you can fit tons of snacks in here. The main event of any Tesla is their large center infotainment systems. They are very fast, super responsive, they work like smartphones, and in its home position you can take a detailed look around your vehicle. You can also open the trunk, charging port, and the frunk. It also shows the doors opening in real time. If you press this icon that looks like the car, that adjusts all of these settings. There are many. And if you press lights and you press this rainbow, you can adjust the ambient lighting. So let's say I want red. Boom, it's red. But that's only the start of the features. If you swipe to your left, you can see your map in real time. This is Google Maps. And there's also even more functions. If you press these three dots, you can see a bunch of different items for podcasts, music. There's also a karaoke function where you can listen to songs and sing along to them. There's also arcade, so you can play a bunch of games like Beach Buggy Racing 2, a Tesla favorite, and there's also a toy box, so you can put on a light show, play pranks on your friends, pretending that they farted. You can even play songs and sound effects outside of the car with these speakers. Something else that's really handy is you can actually take Zoom calls from your Tesla. You can search on a Tesla browser. You can also connect your messages in your calendar. So you can use your calendar to put in destinations really quickly and respond to people's texts right away using the voice command function. And lastly, these seats are also brand new. They are much more comfortable and they are perforated because the new Model Y line will have ventilated front seats. However, this is a showroom model which comes before all of the normal production Model Ys, so it doesn't even have that function available just yet. There have been some changes to the rear of the new Model Y, mainly nicer materials like the vegan leather on the doors and this faux suede, and it also has this ambient lighting strip, but unlike the Tesla Model 3 Highland, there's interior trim and even in the rear seats for a much higher quality feel. The biggest change back here is this screen, which has many functions. First off, you can control some of your climate functions like your fan speed, You can also turn on your heated seats. And interestingly, you can actually fold the rear seats from the screen as well, which is something I have never seen before. And if you want to enjoy your life back here, you can play some music. You can also watch YouTube, Netflix, Hulu, and play several different games, like one of my favorites, Stardew Valley. Now, some people are going to try to take advantage of this, thinking they can move the front seat forward and backward so they can torture the front passenger up here, but whenever someone's sitting in it, you cannot move the seat, so don't try that. These rear seats are also completely new. They are now perforated. They also have new headrests, which are larger and more plush, because the older car had really hard headrests, which were really uncomfortable. The seat bottom is also now larger to accommodate for taller people and more support for your thighs. So hopefully your experience back here will be much nicer. In addition, middle seat passengers aren't tortured either because they actually have a good amount of space, as you can see here.